Bob Iger's story begins in a modest home in Long Island, New York, where quiet routines and simple days shaped his early worldview. He grew up in a family that struggled with emotional stability, his father dealing with mental health challenges, and his household often filled with unpredictable tension. As a child, Bob learned to navigate this environment with patience and sensitivity, developing a subtle awareness of other people's emotions. He wasn't loud, demanding, or rebellious. Instead, he was observant, thoughtful, and quietly hopeful. Books and television became Bob's escape. He discovered comfort in stories, worlds where characters faced challenges, learned lessons, and grew stronger. These stories gave him stability in moments when real life felt uncertain. They also sparked something deep inside him, a fascination with imagination, creativity, and the power of storytelling. Bob began to dream of a future where he could one day work in the world of entertainment, even if he didn't yet know how to get there. In school, Bob was a diligent student who relied on hard work more than natural talent. He wasn't the star athlete or the class celebrity, but teachers remembered him for his kindness and consistency. He approached everything with a sense of calm responsibility, whether it was studying for a test or helping a classmate. Bob's early life taught him that reliability wasn't just a skill, it was a way of earning trust. During his teenage years, Bob found solace in routines, waking up early, working part-time jobs, and contributing quietly to his community. These habits gave him a sense of control and purpose. He didn't chase attention or praise, he simply focused on doing things well. This quiet discipline became one of the defining traits of his later leadership. Long before he stepped into boardroom, Bob understood the power of steady effort. Bob's relationship with his father taught him one of the most important lessons of his life: the value of resilience. Watching someone he loved struggle emotionally pushed Bob to develop inner strength and compassion. He learned to separate who people were from the difficulties they carried. This understanding would shape his leadership philosophy, not leading through intimidation or fear, but through empathy and fairness. It became the foundation of his calm, grounded approach to life. After graduating high school, Bob entered Ithaca College to study communications. It was there that he saw, for the first time, a clear path toward the world of television and media. He explored everything from radio production to television hosting, discovering a deep passion for the technical and creative sides of storytelling. Bob found joy in understanding how stories were built, frame by frame, scene by scene, decision by decision. It was a craft he wanted to master. During college, Bob worked hard to develop multiple skills: writing, production, performance, and behind-the-scenes logistics. He wasn't trying to be extraordinary, he was trying to be prepared. He knew that opportunities rarely appeared fully formed. They came through consistency, readiness, and humility. Bob embraced every chance to learn, believing that growth often came from the smallest tasks done with care. As his graduation approached, Bob realized something important. Success wasn't about starting at the top. It was about getting your foot in the door, earning trust, and building a foundation day by day. With this mindset, he set his sights on entering the television industry in any role he could find. He wasn't chasing fame or power. He simply wanted to be part of the world that had comforted him during his most difficult childhood moments. When Bob eventually entered the professional world, he carried with him the lessons of his early life: resilience, kindness, and quiet determination. He didn't know it yet, but these qualities would guide him through challenges far greater than he could imagine. For now, he was just beginning the journey that would lead him to reshape one of the most beloved entertainment companies on Earth. Segment 2 for Correct. Bob Iger's entry into the television world was far from glamorous. He joined ABC in 1974 as a studio assistant, a job that required long hours, constant movement, and doing tasks that were rarely acknowledged. He helped set up equipment, organize schedules, and supported crews behind the scenes. But Bob never treated the work as insignificant. He believed that small responsibilities, handled with care, could open doors to greater trust. His calm presence quickly set him apart. While others stressed over deadlines and production chaos, Bob remained composed, attentive, and reliable. He took the time to understand how each department functioned, observing the rhythms of live television and the teamwork required to bring a show to life. Through quiet observation, he began identifying what made great leaders effective and what made teams feel supported. These lessons slowly shaped his own approach to leadership. Bob's early supervisors noticed something unusual about him. He didn't wait to be told what to do. He anticipated needs, offered help before being asked, and learned skills outside his job description simply because he enjoyed understanding the bigger picture. This initiative earned him new responsibilities, first small ones, then larger ones. Each new role stretched his abilities, pushing him deeper into the world of production, editing, and live broadcasting. As he rose through ABC, Bob faced countless intense moments, breaking news interruptions, last-minute production failures, and long nights filled with uncertainty. But even in the most stressful situations, he remained steady. Colleagues often turned to him because he radiated a sense of calm that made challenges feel manageable. Bob believed that panic never solved problems. Clear thinking did. His calmness became a quiet form of leadership long before he ever held an official title. Over time, Bob began working on major programs, gaining a deeper understanding of how stories were crafted for national audiences. He learned how to handle pressure, how to make decisions quickly, and how to support teams during difficult moments. His approach wasn't flashy. He didn't shout or push people. Instead, he guided with subtle confidence, proving that steady leadership could be just as effective as bold personalities. These years became the foundation of his management style. One of Bob's greatest strengths emerged during live broadcasts where every second mattered. He developed an ability to stay focused when others felt overwhelmed. Whether managing breaking news or sudden production changes, Bob maintained a clear mind, offering calm direction that kept teams united. This skill would become essential later in his career, helping him navigate enormous challenges at Disney with the same steady presence. As ABC continued to grow, Bob's reputation did too. He wasn't known as the loudest executive or the most aggressive, but he was known as the person who got things done. He built trust by listening, by staying open-minded, and by treating every colleague, from assistants to producers, with respect. This humility made people want to work with him. Bob understood that leadership wasn't about standing above others, it was about supporting them. Eventually, Bob had the opportunity to oversee more complex productions and take on managerial roles. He approached these transitions with gratitude, not entitlement. He knew he wasn't the most experienced or the most technically gifted, but he was willing to learn and willing to serve. That attitude made him a natural fit for bigger responsibilities. Leaders began to rely on Bob not just for his performance, but for his character. The more responsibility Bob was given, the more he grew. He managed teams through tight schedules, creative disagreements, and shifting industry trends. These experiences taught him the importance of communication and trust, two qualities that would later become central to his leadership at Disney. Bob didn't take shortcuts or seek quick victories. He believed that long-term success was built on consistency one day at a time. By the time Bob reached his late 30s, he had become one of ABC's most dependable executives. He had mastered the craft of television production, built strong relationships across the network, and demonstrated a leadership style defined by empathy, clarity, and optimism. Yet his most transformative opportunities were still ahead. Soon, Bob would take on roles that would push him to grow in ways he never expected, leading him step by step toward the Walt Disney Company. As Bob Iger continued rising through ABC, he eventually stepped into one of the biggest roles of his early career, president of the network. It was a position filled with pressure, politics, and high expectations. Yet Bob carried himself with the same grounded presence he had since his days as a studio assistant. He led not by intimidation, but by clarity and fairness. In moments of crisis, he didn't raise his voice, he steadied the room. His calm leadership helped guide ABC through a period of major changes in the television landscape. During these years, Bob learned how to make decisions that balance creativity with business strategy. He worked closely with writers, producers, and executives, navigating complex negotiations and high-stakes projects. Through it all, he remained deeply respectful of the creative process. Bob believed that those who built stories deserved to feel supported, not micromanaged. His empathy and willingness to listen helped him earn trust across departments that rarely saw eye to eye. Bob's leadership was tested many times. He managed ABC during unpredictable news cycles, struggled through ratings battles, and faced challenges from competitors pushing aggressively into new territories. Yet even when the network encountered setbacks, Bob refused to blame or criticize. Instead, he focused on how the team could adapt and improve. He often reminded colleagues that optimism was not ignorance. It was the discipline of looking for solutions rather than dwelling on problems. In the mid-1990s, a major turning point arrived when the Walt Disney Company acquired ABC. Suddenly, Bob found himself inside one of the world's most iconic entertainment companies. The transition wasn't easy. Disney had a strong culture with deep-rooted traditions, and ABC employees often felt overshadowed or misunderstood. But Bob approached this shift with humility. He didn't try to prove himself or force change. He focused on understanding Disney's values and earning trust within the organization. Bob's natural leadership style fit surprisingly well within Disney's world. He valued creativity, imagination, and storytelling just as deeply as the company's founders had. At the same time, he brought a modern perspective, one grounded in collaboration, transparency, and respect. He knew that great innovation required healthy culture, not fear-driven decision-making. As he spent more time at Disney, senior leaders began to see him as someone who understood the heart of the company, not just its business. During his early years at Disney, Bob was given complex challenges that many executives avoided. He managed international operations, revived underperforming divisions, and rebuilt relationships that had been strained during leadership transitions. Bob approached each challenge with patience and kindness. He didn't arrive with rigid plans. He listened, learned, and gradually made thoughtful adjustments. His calm approach created stability in areas that had once been chaotic. One of Bob's strengths was his ability to see potential where others only saw difficulty. He recognized opportunities for improvement in Disney's television operations, theme park strategies, and global expansion efforts. Each time he made progress, he did so quietly without seeking credit. Bob believed that leadership was about strengthening teams, not amplifying ego. And those around him noticed. He slowly became a key figure within Disney's senior ranks, not because he demanded authority, but because he earned trust. As years passed, Bob experienced both professional successes and personal challenges, all of which shaped him into a more compassionate leader. He understood how fragile creativity could be, how easily teams could break under pressure, and how deeply people needed to feel valued. These insights helped him cultivate a leadership style defined by emotional intelligence. Bob believed that kindness was not a weakness in business, it was a strategic strength. By the early 2000s, Bob Iger had become one of the most respected executives within the Walt Disney Company. His reputation for calm decision-making, collaborative leadership, and unwavering integrity set him apart during a time of internal tension. Disney was heading toward a critical crossroads, a moment that would determine the company's future direction. And without fully realizing it, Bob was being prepared for the most significant responsibility of his career. The opportunity to reshape Disney's future was approaching, and Bob's lifetime of resilience, discipline, and empathy had prepared him for a leadership role that would influence not only the company, but the entire entertainment industry. By the mid-2000s, the Walt Disney Company faced profound internal challenges. Creativity was slowing, divisions were disconnected, and relationships between leaders had grown tense. The company needed a steady hand, someone who could restore trust and rebuild a culture that had once been defined by optimism. In 2005, Bob Iger was chosen to lead Disney as its next CEO. He accepted the responsibility not with triumph, but with calm humility, understanding the immense legacy he was stepping into. One of Bob's first and most important decisions was to repair Disney's relationship with Pixar. Years of conflict had left the partnership damaged, and future collaboration seemed unlikely. But Bob saw something deeper. He believed Pixar's creativity, culture, and storytelling brilliance were essential to Disney's future. With quiet determination, he reached out to Steve Jobs and began rebuilding trust, one honest conversation at a time. His sincerity paved the way for one of the most significant acquisitions in entertainment history. The purchase of Pixar marked a turning point. Bob didn't see the acquisition as a transaction. He saw it as a union of creative families. He promised to protect Pixar's culture and autonomy, and he kept that promise. Teams who once felt disconnected began to feel inspired again. Creativity, once muted by uncertainty, came alive. Bob understood that when creators feel valued, they produce their best work. His leadership gave them the space to dream boldly once more. Encouraged by Pixar's success, Bob led Disney into two more transformational acquisitions, Marvel and Lucasfilm. Both decisions were met with skepticism, but Bob saw potential others missed. He recognized the power of characters, stories, and universes that millions cherished. Under his guidance, Marvel expanded into a global phenomenon, and Star Wars found renewed life. These bold yet thoughtful moves redefined Disney's identity in the modern age, strengthening its foundation for generations to come. Throughout these expansions, Bob remained committed to a leadership philosophy rooted in optimism. He believed that the future belonged to those who imagined brighter possibilities, not those who feared change. In meetings, he listened more than he spoke, encouraging collaboration instead of control. His calm approach steadied teams even during moments of intense pressure. Bob often said that fear was destructive to creativity, and he worked tirelessly to remove it from Disney's culture. As Disney grew into a global entertainment powerhouse, Bob continued focusing on values beyond business metrics. He prioritized inclusion, fairness, and the well-being of employees at every level. He invested in modernizing Disney's technology, expanding its global reach, and strengthening its commitment to responsible storytelling. Each choice reflected his belief that a company's true legacy is defined not only by profit, but by the impact it leaves on people's lives. Under his guidance, Disney's influence became both broader and deeper. Even as Disney reached unprecedented success, Bob remained remarkably grounded. He woke early, prepared carefully, and approached each day with calm clarity. He never let leadership become a performance. Instead, he led with warmth, patience, and authenticity. Colleagues admired that he could navigate billion-dollar decisions without losing his sense of humanity. For Bob, leadership was never about control. It was about creating the conditions for others to thrive. After years of transforming Disney, Bob eventually stepped down, leaving behind a company stronger, more creative, and more united than when he first arrived. His legacy lived not just in the acquisitions or achievements, but in the culture he helped rebuild. He restored trust, inspired collaboration, and reminded the world that creativity flourishes under kindness, not fear. His story became a testament to the power of quiet confidence in a world often driven by noise. Bob Iger's journey from a young boy seeking escape through stories to a leader shaping the stories of millions reminds us that greatness doesn't require aggression or spectacle. It comes from resilience, empathy, and the courage to imagine a better future. You don't need to shout to lead. You don't need to rush to succeed. Like Bob, you can move with patience, clarity, and steady purpose and still change the world. As the story comes to a gentle close, take a slow breath. Let the calm strength of Bob Iger's journey settle in your mind. Wherever you are in your own path, trust that each thoughtful step is leading you forward. Your story is unfolding, quietly, steadily, and in its own perfect time. Good night.